Deciding when to breed an Airedale Terrier involves more than just desire. It requires deep understanding of the breed's health. The assumption that any healthy female can be bred annually is a serious misconception that overlooks her well-being. The reproductive cycle of the Airedale Terrier, like that of all dogs, is a complex biological process that demands respect and careful management. Responsible breeding prioritizes the long-term health of the mother, not the maximization of litters. This principle guides every decision, from the timing of the first litter to the spacing between subsequent ones, and ultimately the age of her retirement from breeding. Understanding this cycle is the first step toward ethical stewardship of this remarkable breed. An Airedale female, or dam, typically experiences her first heat cycle between 6 and 14 months of age, though some may start later. This initial cycle signals reproductive maturity, but it is not an indication that she is ready for breeding. Her body is still developing, and a pregnancy at this stage would place significant strain on her skeletal structure and overall physical condition. Breeding an Airedale on her first or even second heat is widely discouraged by veterinary professionals and reputable breed clubs. Such early breeding can compromise her growth, increase the risk of complications during birth, and negatively impact the health of her puppies. A dam's physical and mental maturity are paramount, and these are seldom achieved before she is at least 2 years old. Before any breeding is considered, a comprehensive health screening is essential. For Airedale Terriers, this involves specific genetic tests and evaluations to minimize the risk of passing on hereditary conditions. One of the most critical screenings is for hip dysplasia, a common orthopedic issue in larger breeds. The Orthopedic Foundation for Animals, or OFAR, provides certifications for hip and elbow health, which are considered standard practice among responsible breeders. Evaluations should also be conducted for cardiac health, as certain heart conditions can be present in the breed. Additionally, screening for autoimmune thyroiditis and kidney disease is often recommended. These tests should be performed after the dog reaches full maturity, typically around the age of 2, which aligns perfectly with the recommended minimum age for breeding. Waiting until these health clearances are complete ensures that only the healthiest individuals contribute to the breed's gene pool. Once an Airedale dam has reached at least 2 years of age and has passed all necessary health screenings, the timing of her first litter can be considered. The typical heat cycle for an Airedale occurs approximately every 6 to 8 months. However, this can vary between individuals. It is crucial to allow the dam's body to fully recover from the physiological demands of pregnancy, whelping, and nursing. Therefore, breeding on consecutive heat cycles is strongly advised against. This practice, known as back-to-back breeding, does not give the dam's uterus adequate time to return to its normal state, nor does it allow her to replenish the vital nutritional reserves depleted by her previous litter. Her body needs time to restore its condition, strength, and energy. A full cycle, or about a year, should pass between the whelping of one litter and the mating for the next. This recommended interval of at least 1 year between litters is not an arbitrary guideline. It is based on the biological realities of canine reproduction. Pregnancy and lactation are incredibly demanding. The dam must provide all the nutrients for her growing puppies in utero and then produce enough milk to sustain them for several weeks after birth. This process drains calcium, proteins, and other essential resources from her own body. Insufficient recovery time can lead to a host of health problems, including uterine infections, poor milk production for the subsequent litter, and a general decline in her overall health and vitality. Furthermore, a dam that is physically depleted is less capable of providing the necessary care and socialization for her puppies, which can affect their early development. Ethical breeding is a marathon, not a sprint, and the dam's welfare is the guiding principle. The total number of litters an Airedale dam should have in her lifetime is also a critical consideration. While there is no single rule, responsible breeders generally agree that fewer is better. A common guideline is to limit a dam to a maximum of 3 or 4 litters over her entire lifespan. This approach ensures she is not overbred and allows her to enjoy a long, healthy life after her breeding years are over. Each pregnancy carries inherent risks, and these risks can accumulate with successive litters by limiting the number of times she is bred. Breeders protect her from the cumulative physical stress and potential complications associated with repeated pregnancies. A dam is not a machine. She is a living being whose well-being must be the top priority. After her final litter, she should be spayed to prevent future pregnancies and associated health risks, allowing her to transition into a well-deserved retirement as a cherished companion. The ideal age for an Airedale's final litter is another aspect of responsible breeding. Most breeders and veterinary experts suggest that a female should not be bred after the age of 5 or 6. As a dog ages, the risks associated with pregnancy and whelping increase significantly. Older dams are more likely to experience complications such as uterine inertia, where the uterine muscles are too weak to effectively push out the puppies, often necessitating a C-section. The chances of smaller litters, stillbirths, and birth defects also rise with the dam's age. Furthermore, raising a litter of energetic Airedale puppies requires a great deal of energy and patience, which may be more taxing for an older dog. Retiring a dam from breeding by the age of 6 allows her to avoid the heightened risks of late-life pregnancies and ensures she can enjoy her teenage years in good health and comfort. The health of the male Airedale or the sire is just as important. While a male can physically sire litters from a young age, the same principles of maturity and health screening apply. He should also be at least 2 years old and have completed all breed-specific health clearances before being used for breeding. Unlike females, males do not have the same physiological limitations on breeding frequency. A healthy male can sire multiple litters in a year without the physical strain of pregnancy. However, overuse of a single popular sire can be detrimental to the breed's genetic diversity. This is known as popular sire syndrome, where one male's genes become overrepresented in the population. This can inadvertently increase the prevalence of certain genetic disorders and reduce the overall resilience of the breed. Therefore, responsible breeders carefully select studs and avoid contributing to this problem, ensuring a broad and healthy gene pool for future generations of Airedales. Ultimately, the frequency of breeding Airedale Terriers should be dictated by a commitment to the health and welfare of the dogs. This means waiting until both the sire and dam are physically and temperamentally mature, typically around 2 years old. It involves completing all recommended health screenings to prevent the spread of hereditary diseases. It requires spacing litters at least a year apart to allow the dam to fully recover. It means limiting the total number of litters to preserve her long-term health and retiring her from breeding at a sensible age. These practices are the cornerstones of ethical breeding. They ensure that each litter is the result of careful planning and a deep respect for the Airedale Terrier, safeguarding the well-being of the individual dogs and the future of the breed itself.